All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, another NBA regular season video. In this video, we're going to talk about the last regular season award that I did not talk about in my last video, and that award is MVP. We have a lot of candidates this year. We have a lot of compelling cases to win the MVP. We have a multiple time MVP. We have a player trying to become a multiple time MVP. We have new players submitting their names into the race and into the conversation. We're going to talk about the stats. We're going to talk about how I feel. I'm going to give you my top five, my top three, my top two, and then my eventual winner. Spoiler, it's a little boring of an answer, but we will get there. So if you like what I have to say, like the video. If you have your own opinions, comment it down below. And if you just like the vibes, consider subscribing. So, this has been a crazy year for MVP. There's been a lot of names floated around. The ones in front of you are the ones that I'm going to talk about. I'm not going to waste my time with some of the other names because, to me personally, they're simply not in the race. They're fun names to talk about. I'm looking at the basketball reference um, list of MVPs that are possible this year. You know, people with the highest um, per game scoring averages. Some names here I just look at and I go, yeah, that's not happening. But other ones, I'm like, these guys are definitely in the top five. And my top five at the end of this season, with less than 10 games to go, at number five is Cade Cunningham. In no particular order, by the way. I'm just going through my top five. Cade Cunningham, Victor Wembanyama, Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Nikola Jokic, all I think are worthy of MVP buzz at a legit level. Unfortunately, Cade suffered a collapse lung a few weeks ago, so he's effectively out of the race. I really thought he could make a push, a very late season push, to at least be in like the top three finalists of this award, but it was unfortunate that he did sustain that injury. We will still talk about his crazy season in this video, but before we get into my my top five and talk about the players in my top five, I want to go through the MVP. What's this called? MVP ladder from this season, going back from week three when they start putting out these rankings, all the way up to week 23 this week, just to get some names out here that I think are interesting and weird. Um, this is going from, let's see, first, second, third, fourth, fifth. So in the rankings throughout the weeks. Um, First week of MVP buzz happening was week three of the NBA. And you had Shea at one, Giannis at two, Jokic at three, Wembanyama at four, and Luka Doncic at five. And then throughout the rest of up until week 13, it was Jokic at one, Shea at two, Luka at three, and then Giannis dipped his toe in um, these weeks. Cade Cunningham also started getting some buzz here around was this week five. Um, it was basically those players, and then you had a wild Jaylen Brown show up, get some buzz around week eight, and then there was some Brunson buzz for a little while at week nine, week 10, week 11, but the usual suspects stayed on top. Jokic, Shea, Luka. Around week 12, um, Wemby reappears and Jaylen Brown reappears, and then we go to week 13, um, 10 weeks ago. It's crazy, only 10 weeks ago. This was the um, top five: Shea, Jokic, Luka, Wemby, Jaylen Brown. Week 14, you got Tyrese Maxey. Somebody was really high on Tyrese Maxey right here. Um, and then we just moved through the rest of the weeks here, week 20 ish, late teens. And it's the same guys. It's Luka, it's Wemby, it's Cade, it's Jokic, um, and Shea. Um, I want to give my thoughts about the race this season. Coming into this season, I believe I said, I would have to go back and watch my video on it. I said Shea is probably going to run away with the MVP because he historically had been healthy up until this point in his career. Um, this season was sort of one of the more unhealthy seasons, dealing with a lot of injuries that hampered him. Um, nevertheless, he put up a really solid season. A lot of his numbers are down from last year. Even his minutes are down from last year, so we will take that into account um, when we talk about the award. But I came into the season, I was like, Shea's gonna be the MVP. It's an easy MVP for him. He just has to go back to back, do the same thing. Um, I was more so worried about the Thunder as a team trying to go back to back and trying to duplicate what they did last season. And as the season started, people were like, "Oh, they're gonna beat the 73-9 Warriors record." That didn't happen. Um, and then Shea sort of got injured. He was in, he was out. Um, the whole team had setbacks in their injuries. Chet was out. Jalen Williams was out. They threw some weird lineups out there without Shea, and they still looked good. And I don't think a team looking good without their star players should dock them for MVP. Again, Shea's numbers are down by like 1.0 in almost every statistical category I was looking at this morning. And that's nothing not to knock him, but when this race is so close and you have so many names, you sort of have to start looking at the minute little details and saying, well, he did win the MVP last year, but now this year these numbers are down, this and that happened. There's a smaller sample size. These percentages look different. You have to start nitpicking some things. And I definitely had to nitpick Shea a little bit. But early in the season, I thought it was an easy one for him. And obviously, Jokic started to get himself into gear. I'm very high on Jokic. I love the way he plays basketball, just the stuff he does. It's a very satisfying way to play basketball versus, some of the detractors from Shea will say, what he does isn't basketball, it's an insult to the game. And I won't go as that far, but personally, I don't like watching the Oklahoma City Thunder. If they're up by 30 at halftime throughout any course of this season, I just turned the game off. I was like, I don't care. It just wasn't my style of basketball, my brand of basketball that I liked. I liked the Oklahoma City Thunder when they were running that group of misfits, just weird lineups. I like that version. When they have all their guys, and you have to watch Shea play 30 minutes and he's flopping all over the place. You're like, this is so boring. This is so stupid. Why am I watching this? And again, I'm not gonna sit here and say like, oh, because the team was not better, but just as good when he wasn't there, that should deduct points. That's what I'm gonna say. Because the same thing did happen for Jokic after he came off this run in week 4, week 5, week 6, week 7, week 8, week 9, week 10, week 11, week 12, and then he got injured around week 12. He dropped down a little bit. Jokic did, and his team played well without him. So I'm not going to take that away from Jokic. But the way Jokic played was so much more satisfying visually, and I'm not the type of person to be like, I'm going to vote off who I feel like is MVP. I'm looking at the numbers. I've watched the whole season. I've watched all these guys. And Shea is impressive. I'm not taking that away from him. But Jokic, especially through this early part of the season, was magical. It was a magical run for him. It was very first time, second time MVP. Jokic is a what? He's a 3-time MVP now. What is he? 2-time? Yeah, this is gonna be his fourth MVP. Um, Putting him in rare space with like Michael Jordan and like Kareem and like Larry Bird or something. I think it is right. Like that's it. That would put him in crazy space. Um, and then talking about the other players here, Victor Wembanyama was also injured throughout part of this season. The team did play, I think, okay enough. He wasn't really getting MVP buzz, and I said in a video I think maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago, when I talked about this MVP stuff a little bit. Um, I had said maybe his time is coming, and it's not his time yet. And then over the course of the last month, essentially, not even the month, after I made that video, the Spurs go on a tear. They clinch a playoff berth. He's playing spectacularly well for a 22-year-old, and he's elevated this team. And all these guys, I will say this, all these guys that I'm talking about elevate the floor of your team and they elevate the ceiling with the right guys around them. And Victor is the antithesis of that this season because this is the first time we're seeing him do it. And I still do think sort of that his time will come uh, soon. He's going to win the Defensive Player of the Year this year, but his time as an MVP will come. I just don't think it's this year. I think him submitting himself this early in his career um, as an MVP candidate is really good, but I I struggle to see myself giving him MVP, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Luka, coming into this season in shape, as the critics would say, finally in shape, motivated. Um, Another tidbit that happened through the season: freshly divorced, so he just has nothing to do but basketball at this point. Um, Sorry to hear that for Luka. And I will say, as a disclaimer, Luka is one of my favorite players in the league, so I am a little bit biased towards him. But the Lakers started off the season pretty good, and then they went through those midseason, woes of like, oh, I don't know, does LeBron and Luka really work? Is They didn't have Austin Reeves, and they were struggling. And then over the course of last, I think even after All Star break, they really started picking it up. Luka looked really good, and I was pleasantly surprised um, with what he looked like because I had never seen Luka look completely comfortable in a Lakers jersey. And obviously it was only like half a season last year, and then you get the full sample size this year. This last month or two, Luka has looked like Luka again. And as a fan who's been watching him since he was at Real Madrid, in Madrid, the to his first year with the Mavs, to his finals run with Kyrie and that group, and to see him here now, seeing him getting back in form, rounding into shape, um, is amazing. And I will the guys like Nikola Jokic and Luka, I just watch them, and the people are gonna knock Luka because he complains to the refs all the time. He's like throwing his hands up. He's like getting into it with fans. Like, I understand that stuff. I'm not saying Luka's not full of nonsense about 75% of the time, but at least it isn't like horrendous flopping, flailing his arms around. Like some people might say that about Jokic, but like to me, Jokic and Luka are the most pleasing players to watch on the offensive end. Now, Victor's getting himself into that conversation, especially defensively. You watch Victor and you're like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. Um, but for me, watching Luka round himself back into like prime form where he was even pre like that finals run that they went on, to at least get to the finals, has been amazing this year. So he's reemerged. He had a little down, a couple years where like, oh, he's fat, he does this, he doesn't care about basketball, blah blah blah, whatever, whatever. He's back in the conversation. Um, we talked about Shea, beginning of the year, blase blase, and then Cade, the uh, the late season run that I thought he would have. We'll just never know if it was going to hold up or if it was going to hold weight to these MVP voters. Um, but I was very hopeful that he could get there. He carried this team throughout the season, and one of my biggest fears with the Pistons without Cade was like, or even with Cade, it was like when it comes playoff time, he's gonna be the lone guy out there that's really gonna be able to give you buckets. He doesn't. He has Jalen Duren, but Jalen Duren's he's a run, jump, dunk big. He doesn't really stretch the floor. He's very reliant on rebounds and getting the ball fed to him. There's not another real creator on this team, and it didn't matter. The Pistons have had a great year. The Celtics are sneaking up on them in the standings just a little bit, but I think the Pistons can hold out and they can get the number one seed, and that's another component of this MVP race. At least with my top three is that like they're so close in the standings out west. They are so close, and to me, like for once, I think record in the past has mattered a great deal for MVP, but it's just so close out there, and I believe Jokic and Wemby play this Sunday. Um, is this Sunday? It might be, yeah, on Sunday. It's coming up soon, and I'm not saying that game's going to decide the MVP for me, but obviously I'm doing the video now, so even if it does, I can't change it. I'm submitting my vote anyway, but seeing these guys match up is going to be worth something a little bit, and one game doesn't really matter, and the standings don't really matter that much this year because they're all so close. And every one of these players has been injured at one point or another. Shea's been injured, Jokic's been injured, Wemby's been injured. Luka, I don't think Luka's been injured. He's just been like out for like a couple games, like nursing an injury, but he hasn't been completely like a complete and utter scratch for like weeks upon weeks, versus what Shea was, what Jokic was, what Wemby was for a little bit there, and what Cade is now. Um, but yeah, I had hoped Cade would have made a late season push. Um, I think that for me, the optics of it, when you're looking at an MVP caliber player like Shea, who's a guard, and you look at an MVP caliber player like Cade, the difference in play style isn't dissimilar, but you can see the knowledge that Shea has, and like, I can just do whatever and I'm gonna get a foul called, versus Cade, who really has to work himself into the game. He likes to get his teammates involved first and then he gets going. It's not too similar, but you see some things and you're like, oh yeah, they're both getting to the basket the same sort of way. Obviously when Shea doesn't get a foul called, both working their way to the basket the same. And then you look at another guard in Luka, who just is completely different from both of them. Um, it's amazing to watch, and this is my top five, um, right now, and then now we're gonna put it in order, um, and we'll get to the top three, and then we will get to the top two, and then the MVP. So my number five on my MVP, we'll say power ranking, right? Late season. This is how I'm gonna vote. This is how I would like rank them if I had to like if my vote counted for like 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, 4 point, 5 point. Working my way up to 5 points to vote for my eventual MVP. My number five on my list is Cade. Like I said, I wanted to make the late season push. An amazing season by him, 24 points per game. Um, Almost 10 assists, 1.1 short of 10 assists, 5 rebounds. Let's see here. Effective field goal, 51. From 2 point, 51. From three, 34. A bit of a down year from his last couple years, about 10%. Not 10%, was that like, yeah, 1%, but like 10 point whatever percent down from the last year. Field goal, 46%. Field goals attempted, 18. Um, yeah, this is field goals attempted, field goals made 8. I don't know if that's right. Minutes played 34, and then games played 61. In his fifth year in the NBA. A valiant effort. Second time All Star this year. Pardon me. He was seventh in MVP voting last year. In my mind, he moves up 2 spots to fifth, finishing in fifth in MVP voting. That's worthy progression from a player and a team that personally I thought would regress a little bit. Now, moving into my number four on this list, um, this is going to be surprising that this guy is not even in the top three. It's Shea. It's Shea, man. Um, I have my problems with Shea, as does everybody. But I respect what he does. Even in the moment we look back at other MVPs, guys who were in the vein of a Shea more like, in James Harden. I didn't like it when James Harden was flopping around, but I kind of respected it. I was like, he's bending the rules, and that's a part of being an MVP and being a really good player, is bending the rules a little bit and being sort of this is such a crazy being an anarchist to like the WNBA system and the way the refs call things, because you're like, oh, you call it this way, then I'm just gonna do this every time. And that's what he did last year. That's how he won the MVP. But this year, almost all of his stats are down. He averaged 32 points last year. It's down to 31. Um, let's see here. He averaged 6.4 assists last year. It's 6.5 this year. Um, 5 rebounds last year. 4 rebounds this year. His 2 point percentage is up, but on one less attempt. Um, it was 57 last year, 60 this year. Um, and last year on threes, 37% from three. This year, 38% from three on less attempts again, though. So the attempts are down, but the percentage is up. You can look at that however which way you want to look at it. I kind of look at it as a negative, but like I'm like, uh, is it like a ancillary like thing? You're just like, I don't really care. Then I could see him being your top three. I'm not even saying Shea's like an outside top three sort of guy. Like way off. He's right there. He's number four for me. So There's that. And he played 34 minutes last year, and this year 31. And his field goals last year were 21 per game, and this year it's only 19 this year. Um, with a 55% field goal percentage. 76 games played last year, 64 played this year in his eighth NBA season. I do not think Shea will repeat. I I don't want to say this because it sounds so bad because like you have Jokic who has three MVPs and like if I say this then it's like you can't vote for Jokic. I think people are already tired of Shea though. They're already tired of the nonsense. Like, and I think a lot of the detractors and a lot of the people that really like him are at odds right now. He's, whether it's right or not, he's a very controversial player on the court, especially for fans that never got to watch James Harden do what he does. James Harden is the is the nexus of what Shea is doing right now, in that James was just so hated at one point in his career. It's like, stop flopping, stop doing this, whatever, whatever. And he only has one MVP. And unfortunately, I think Shea is going to fall into that same category where people are just like, we can't, the way you play basketball, you got your one, you've stamped that you can do it at this high level. You're not getting another one, man. We just can't give it to you. And maybe there are some people outside of Oklahoma that like Shea. I have very sparingly met people that are outside of Oklahoma that actually like Shea as a basketball player. As a person, he's a great person, fine person. As a player, very annoying. And if you're annoying and the masses are turning against you, and you really can't change the way you play basketball because this is what you know, it's been validated by your previous MVP, then you're never going to win the fans over, And he's 27 years old. At the peak of his powers, he's going to do this for like 5 or 6 more years. Um, he might get another one in the future, but it's not this year for me. Entering my top three here, at number three, uh, my favorite player on this list, in this MVP conversation, um, is Luka Doncic, man. I want to give it to Luka so bad. I said this in the video where I said Wemby's time will come. I feel like Luka's time has just passed. It's just passed. I know he's only 26, but like you're gonna be in a race with these same guys for the next like 5 years. It's gonna be Jokic. It's gonna be Victor. It's gonna be Luka. It's gonna be Shea. It's gonna be K. There are gonna be other people that submit their name. In the late 2020s. Um, his time might have passed, just a little bit, but I sit here and I look at these numbers, man, and we'll talk about where these other guys rank. But I look at these numbers, right, for the regular season. Um, Sorry about that. ESPN had to freaking play their ad when I click on the freaking stats page. Um, when I look at Luca, where he ranks in all of these statistical categories, right? He's first in points per game at 33.8, 22nd in rebounding at 7.8, third in assists at 8.3, and 64th in field goal percentage at 47%. Um, and I look at the rest of these numbers, right? He's leading the league in points per game. His turnovers are what lost him this MVP in my eyes. I look at Luca as a very high turnover player, and he's coming. He's that's been his whole career as a high turnover player. When he's played more than like 60 games, which is very often, all throughout his career, except well, I guess yeah, this is combined years, so yeah, it doesn't really count. He's played 60 plus games his whole career. When he was a rookie, was his lowest turnover percentage at 34%. Not 34, 3.4 turnovers per game. Um, he's just a high turnover guy. He just is. And this year, it's felt like it's been more controlled, but it's still up. It's back up to 4 turnovers per game, from the previous years of 3.6, 3.6. There's 4.5 here. There's 4.5 turnovers. So 4 a game isn't terrible. Um, I couldn't in good conscience give him the MVP without docking him for the turnovers. And I haven't talked about the fouls because I don't think defense is really a huge indicator of an MVP, but his foul trouble and his flagrant fouls and his not flagrant his technical fouls, as even as a huge Luka fan, I'm gonna be the most critical of him. You need to clean that up. You can't be fouling 2 times a game. You just can't. 2.4 to be exact. That's one of the highest of his career, um, overall. Over the last 3 years, 4 years, it's been going up. It hasn't been going down. It's been going up. It's been staying around 2.4. Um, and the technical fouls and the complaining, I have to dock you for that. I I don't feel comfortable giving a guy like that the MVP. And again, I'm a big fan. I just can't do that. Um, Assists per game 8.3, rebounds a game 7.8. Um, Steals for being a pretty bad defender 1.7. Just putting it out there. Free throws have dropped down a little bit this year to 77%, down from 79% last year. His field goals attempted is the second most of his career right now at 10.1. His 2 point percentage, is this the best of his career? Second best of his career. Yeah, second best of his career. Um, 57%. And then his 3 point percentage, 36%. One of his, mm, I will say, more mediocre years. There were years in here where it's 37, 38. If I look at the attempts, this is actually this is his better. This is one of his better. This is the highest volume he's taken, and it's at 36. Interesting. Yeah, interesting. And it's the most he's made on the most attempts he's taken in his career. So do with that information what you will. And then field goals, the most attempted and the most made of his career at 47%. Um, 47, the third best, fourth best of his career. Really good year. Um, and then games played 63, minutes played 35, eighth year in the NBA. He is at 3 for me. His first full year as a Laker, and I feel bad because he is one of my favorite players. But again, I think his time has passed. There's just too much, and he's on the Lakers now, so he is always gonna get this buzz. To be even previous to being on the Lakers, he would always get this buzz as like a preseason favorite for MVP. But even more so now as a Laker, he will continue to get this buzz. And I'm not saying he's not deserving of it. I have so much joy and fun watching Luka do what he does, but I can't let my favoritism dictate where I put him in the MVP ladder, my personal MVP ladder. Um, I just can't. And we'll get to the top two here. I want to get to the last three players I've talked about. I gave you the where they rank in the stat categories. For Luka, I want to give you it for Shea here as well, since he is in the top four. Shea ranks second in scoring at 31.6 per game. Rebounds, he's 107th at 44.4. And then assists, he is 17th at 6.5. And field goal percentage, 13th, 55.3%. The other thing about Shea, I just want to say here, since we're back on him for a little bit, all these guys are in the conversation for a reason. If you like Cade, it was the late season push. It was leading this sort of not expected Pistons team to a high seed, elevating his game. If you watched him last year compared to this year, he elevated his game even more. That's a conversation for Cade to be in this tier. Shea, it is the consistency. And I know at some point last year he said my whole life is consistent. And again, like, Shea is such an incredible player when you take away the other stuff that he does. He has I forget what the record is, but he has like the most consecutive 20-point games in NBA history, I think is. Like averaging 20. Well, it might even be 20. I forget what the number is. But Shea is so consistent. And I'm looking at his game logs. Um, and when I was looking through his game logs, I looked through all these guys' game logs, looking for like outlier games, looking for like games against like really good teams, really bad teams. And you look at the consistency of this guy. Um, I'm not going to run through all the numbers, but there is not there's only a few here where it's just it is 20 on the dot. Otherwise, he's like 25, 30. There's a couple 40 bombs in here. There's 35. There's 36. There's 47. There's 39. There's 29. There's 21. It's so consistent and it's so jaw dropping, and I think a lot of people would respect this if he didn't do it the way he does it. A lot more people would respect it, and I respect the consistency a whole lot, but the way he does it just isn't appealing to my eyeballs personally. Um, so yeah, let's move into the top two. Here we go, the top two. I can't believe we're already here at the end of the. Can you guys believe it's already almost the end of the NBA regular season? It's literally almost over, and we have to decide MVP right now. Um, it's crazy. I'm for number two in my MVP ladder. I'm gonna give my vote to the youngest player here. I believe he's the youngest. Let me make sure I'm right with that. Um, Let me make sure I'm right with that. The youngest player here. 3-year NBA career so far. Um, on a really good team. On a team that's, I don't want to say surprised us all. I think some people were really early on in this guy's MVP campaign to say if they have a good season, if he gets to where he can get to this year in year three, he'll be in this conversation. A lot of people, some people were in on this. I was not. I didn't think I knew he would play well. I didn't think the team would be that great, to be completely honest. I thought they still had some things to figure it out, but they've taken that next leap, and he's taken that next leap. And the guy I'm talking about is Victor Wembanyama, the Frenchman, the alien, as they like to call him. Um, Going through his numbers here, going through his season, back-to-back All-Star appearances from last year and this year. Um, he was second in Defensive Player of the Year voting his first year in the NBA. The second year he didn't qualify because he didn't meet the required amount of games, and he was first team All Defense as well. So Victor's going to rack up some awards this year if he stays healthy through this last little stretch. But he's going to be second in MVP. He's not going to MVP this year, but his post All Star break um, run has been incredible. For the season stats, 24 points per game, um, 3.1 blocks, one steal. I'm not really counting those. I just want to make sure those are in there though for Victor. Um, 3 assists, 11 rebounds, free throw 82%, effective field goal 56%, 2 point from inside the arc 58%, and then from three 35% for a big man. Now these numbers are down a little bit from last year. If I'm gonna dock Shea Ford a little bit, I have to dock Wemby for it, even though, well, the 3 pointer attempts are down, which is good. This is what you want to see from Wemby. Is he was very he's back down to where he was as rookie at 5.5 attempts per game from three, and he's making only two this year, so it's down a lot. He's bruising down low a lot more, um, using his size in the mid range too a little bit more. It's identical from last year, essentially his 2 point percentage. He's played more games though. He has came off the bench some games because he was dealing with an injury. He's played 61 games in total. His field goal percentage is the best of his career. His field goal attempts are down, but his field goal makes are the same. So he just needs to stay around here, and he'll be fine for the rest of his career. um, and he's played 29 minutes per game, back down to his rookie numbers in minutes played almost. So yeah, third year submitting a really convincing MVP candidacy, um, to be a finalist even, would be great for Wemby, I think. The world is abuzz with Victor Wembanyama um, MVP talk right now. The ESPN is talking about it. People are posting about it. I get it. It's fun to watch. He really helped the Spurs um, get to where they needed to be this year. Um, he clinched a playoff spot for them on a game-winning mid-range shot. It's a lot of stuff. It's visually this last half of the season has been really incredible. And you look at the stuff he's done, and you look at the composure from him, and you look at the maturity from him, and you look at all this outside stuff. It's very convincing, and it makes for a very good campaign. And that's what this is. It's a campaign. It's a season long campaign to win one award, and like I said, I was very happy with what Cade did all season. He put it together all season except for this last month where he unfortunately had a collapse lung. There's nothing you can do about that. There's the stuff with Shea where like more people outside of Oklahoma would respect what he does if he wasn't for the foul calls. People in Oklahoma thinks he's the MVP. I can't argue with that really, but it's a narrative, it's a storyline, it's a campaign. The Luka stuff, like I said, with the complaining to the refs, the flagrant, the technical fouls. He had to sit out a game because they had too many technicals throughout the season. He fouls too much. He complains too much. But when you watch him, he's prime time. And then you look at the other side of the page with these last two guys, especially Victor, where the maturity and the stuff he does and the energy, the youthful vigor he's brought back to San Antonio. And no disrespect to Pop, I hope he's doing well in retirement. Pop was sort of stuck in his old ways. It was the old regime. This is the new time for the Spurs. And Victor being the 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 brightest of lights, the brightest of stars in San Antonio is a miraculous thing. And you get a lot of these tall, lengthy guys who don't work out. And Victor may not ever be in this conversation again in his career. This might be his peak, let's say, right? This is a really good peak. This is a really good peak for a season, man. This is a really good peak, and um, it's a positive thing for centers, and obviously Victor's the outlier here, being 6 foot, 7 foot 7, apparently. He's an outlier. The size does help him, but man, does it take a lot of skill and a lot of work to actually use that size, and he's doing it at all three levels this year. Um, Man, oh man. And now we get to the final guy here. Like I said at the top, you guys are gonna hate me. It's a boring answer. When you look at the numbers, when you look at the season, when you look at all the stuff he does in every statistical category, I gave all the superlatives about um, Cade and Shea and Luca and Victor and what all they all do. They all are. I'd say Shea and Cade are really good scorers. Shea is very consistent, obviously. Luca is the big time scorer. If you want like big time like output, like individual game output, it's Luca. You look at Victor and what he's done. All three levels, like I said. Um, Nikola Jokic has mastered all of that, and he's been in MVP talks dating back to 2018, 2019 was when the first time he was on an MVP list. He finished number 4 in MVP voting. And to be here in 2025, 2026, looking at what he's done and seeing the team actually play well without him and the team actually be better around him, this is probably his best supporting cast, and him still put up these ridiculous numbers is crazy. Going into his numbers here, 27 points per game, um, almost 4 turnovers. I had the Doc Luca for that, but it's only 3.9 for for Jokic, and his aren't as egregious visually watching it as Luca's. I want to make that very clear. Um, 8 assists per game, not 8 assists, 10.8 assists per game, 13 rebounds per game. Effective field goal 64, the best of his career. The best of his career, 62, pardon me. 62.4 per game. The best of his career still. His 2 point percentage, 64. Um, the second best of his career. And then his 3 point percentage, 38. Not one of the best of his career, but still up there. And he's taken the same amount from his previous year last year, which was a huge jump in his career. He went up from 2.9 in 2023 2024 to 4.7 in 2024 2025. And he stuck around there this year as well for this season at 4.6 attempts per game. Still making around 2 per game as well. And his field goal percentage, 57%. Not the best of his career, but very in line with the last few years. And then his attempts remain around the late teens, 17. a game, and then 34 minutes played this year. Um, downish, not too much down. In what is his 11th NBA season, he's played 61 games this year. Um, yeah, I read all that stuff to you, and um, they want to take this MVP away from him, and I'm not. I've been very high on this big man renaissance that's been happening the last decade and a half. I was a big Boogie Cousins fan. Then he got injured and he was never the same after that. I was a big Joel Embiid fan, and then when he started like flopping and complaining about how he should win MVP, I wasn't really a fan anymore. And then I was like, well, the only real big guy left that's like doing it at this level is Jokic. So I've been a Jokic fan for the last couple years, and um, this is not me like professing that like he should win it, he deserves it because of this and that. I look at this number, and every time I watched him this year, I was so impressed with what he did. Because you look up at the end of the game, and he has. I'll give you one. I'll just give you a random game, right? I'm gonna scroll through his game log. You just look up at the end of a game, right? And he has this is against Miami. He has 33, 16, and 15. And it doesn't even feel like that. Even though this was a close game where it was 22 to 12 and he played 37 minutes. You're like, "Oh my god, how did he do that?" And for the season, um, he's 27th. He's averaging 27 points per game. It's eighth in the NBA, 13 rebounds, first in the NBA, 10 assists, first in the NBA, and 57%, ninth in the NBA. And visually, and all the things that I've been talking about all video, visually, the not even just the culture for the Nuggets. He is the Nuggets. He is Mr. Nugget. Like he is what this makes this team go in past years. Not so much this year because they were really good without him this year, but he's Mr. Nugget. He's done everything right this year. He had his first, I think, his longest injury this year, and he still came back and he looked like himself. And he's like, this is the only guy in the MVP race that's top 10 in every statistical category, major statistical category. Is the only guy. And I'm not here to say like, oh, numbers mean everything. Again, visually, I watched him. I watched a lot of Nuggets games this year, and every time I want to say my jaw was on the floor, but like I was so impressed with him. At what was he? 31 years old. Um, Entering, he's in his prime. He's gonna start to come down from his prime. At 31 years old, 10th 11th season in the NBA. Um, with the cast around him, the right cast around him, with I think probably I don't want to be mean to him, but I think the worst coach out of like the bunch. I mean, like Cade has like JB Bickerstaff, Shea has Mark Dagnall, Luke has JJ Redick, Victor has the guy something something. I forgot his name, but you know Jokic probably is the worst coach out of this bunch, and he is. And also, speaking of worst coach, Jokic has been so involved in this team. I have never seen him so involved in a team, in huddles, um, trying to get guys to play harder. I've never seen it from Jokic in his 10, 11 years in the NBA. And for me, Nikola Jokic is your MVP this year. And I know it's a boring answer. The guy who has the best stats and is tops in the statistical categories. But I just watched him this year, man, and I was so impressed, and I didn't think I could even be more impressed with the guy, but I am. Um, so yeah, that's my MVP ladder. That's my winner for MVP. I believe it's called now the Michael Jordan MVP, regular season MVP. Is the Nikola Jokic, man, racking up a historic fourth MVP. Where would that put him? Um, Hold on here. Let's see. Um, where would that put Jokic? MVP, NBA MVP, NBA MVP, a Mount. Uh, let's see, MVP amount. That would put Nikola Jokic. Right now, I said earlier he would tie Larry Bird with four MVPs. Larry Bird only has three MVPs. Nikola Jokic has already tied him. If Nikola Jokic wins this fourth MVP, that would put him only in conversation with LeBron James, NBA all-time leading scorer, NBA all-time leading wins in the regular season plus playoffs, and Wilt Chamberlain, Mr. 100-point game. That that would be those would be the three players with four MVPs. and then he would only be behind Bill Russell, Michael Jordan, and Kareem for MVPs in total. Kareem has 6, Michael has 5, and Bill Russell has 5. Yeah, man. That would be crazy. That'd be nuts. Um, so yeah, that's it. That's my video. I said it a little bit earlier. I can't believe we're at the end of the season already. Thank you guys so much for watching this channel. This is this channel's 300th video, so how fitting that we have the ultimate award in the NBA and the 300th video on this channel. So yeah, the outro should be playing right now. I don't know what's going to be on the left side of your screen. It will be a video. If you want to click it, you can click it. Um, Check it out. It'll be something you like. On the right will be my, um, I guess, yeah, let's make it just basketball hot topics. On the right side of your screen, you can click that playlist. You can check the playlist out, pick a video to watch. And if you click the button, my little icon on your screen right now, a little subscribe button will pop up. You hit the subscribe button, you subscribe, and you can continue watching my NBA content as we head towards the play-in and the playoffs. My WNBA content, which has the expansion draft on Friday, which we'll get a video on Monday, and my college stuff, which is it has come to an end a little bit. But if you want to check out my draft stuff for both WNBA and NBA, check that out. And you can like and you can comment as well. And I will see you all next time. Cheers.